Okay, so welcome to the Entrepreneur's Edge podcast. Joining us on this podcast episode is Stanley Henry, the managing director at the Attention Seeker, recognized as Aotearoa's leading specialist in personal branding, LinkedIn, and TikTok marketing. So Stanley leads a dedicated team focused on growing your personal brand online and using your personal brand to generate attention and leads for your business. Well, here's the deal. In today's fast-paced and digital-driven business market, your personal brand is more important than ever. It can be the key to standing out from the competition, building trust, and attracting opportunities. So if you're eager to learn how to build a compelling personal brand, boost your visibility, and generate leads for your business, you're in for a treat. So stick around. All right. So welcome, brother. Welcome to our Entrepreneur's Edge podcast. Appreciate your time and your presence. Just to kind of kick things off here, share something interesting about yourself that people don't know about Stanley.
Something interesting. Gosh, what do people not know about me and my life? I was thinking about this the other day actually, because someone asked me about this question, and it was one of the first times I get stumbled because as I just said off camera, I'm real good at questions on the fly. I share so much of my life online, so there's little to share. But there's one thing that this is an exclusive for this podcast, is that I have a thing that's quite strange. I have a teddy bear. And I've had this teddy bear since I was born. Its name is Toots. It's been with me my whole life. To the point, it's everywhere I travel, everywhere I go, it comes with me. And it sounds kind of silly because it's like a grown man rocking around with a teddy bear. But it does a few things. First of all, everyone in my family knows Toots. When I went to Dubai a few years back, I took him. My brother was like, "Oh, Toots," and gave him a big cuddle, held him. It's a symbol of our family as a central point that everyone knows and it brings together. And now I'm the uncle who gives all my nieces their first teddy bear, and it's a real cool thing for our family that sort of bonds us on something that's so trivial, but actually is a really good uniting piece for us and our family. And I think that's really important because sometimes as busy business owners, we forget what's our anchor for our family. And for me, it's this teddy bear. His name's Toots. So there's something that people don't know about me.
That's very interesting and very awesome. A sentimental tradition, it sounds like. You pass in, and it's pretty cool. As an uncle, you can kind of do that for others. So awesome. Yeah. Love it. So you're the master of personal branding. And at least in my eyes, I see it, and I've known you for a couple of years now. You've even helped me in my business education in there, and you've kind of helped us give wings to fly and just kind of kick off our personal branding, which has been awesome.
Yeah.
And for our audience who might not even understand what a personal brand is, maybe we start at the beginning. What is a personal brand, and why is it so important?
Yeah, cool, man. So look, I try to dumb it down a little bit for a lot of people. A personal brand is just your reputation. We all have one. We all have a reputation, whether you like it or not. You exist, so you have one. When we say personal brand, what we're saying is how do you curate that to achieve the aims and goals that you have in life, right? So how do you use that reputation to help you achieve your goals faster and more efficiently? And the way we look at it is, as people, we have so many facets to our personality and who we are, and there's no way to contain that in one thing. So what we're saying is, where is your audience that you want to speak to, that you need to achieve the aim that you have, whatever that aim might be, right? There's an audience. Okay, what part of your personality and your brand does that audience need to see to relate to you and build trust with you to help you then achieve that aim? And so that's what we think. It's personal brands are varied, can be anything you need them to be. They can be for business, they can be for personal reasons, whatever. But it's a curated version of your personality and your person that your particular audience that you need to talk to will relate to and respond to through digital means in the most part, but also just in general. How do you put yourself in front of these people so that they recognize and relate to the person that you are, so that they trust you, and then whatever the goal is, they will trust you to help achieve that goal or aim, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve.
I love that. Really simple. Your personal brand is pretty much your digital reputation or your reputation. And it's also, when people think about reputation, sometimes they think about, what are you known for? What's your credibility? They look at your history. But what you've also talked about is the proactive, intentional side of it. This personal brand is not just what you're known for, but what do you want to be known for as well? What are the goals, right?
Yeah.
And then how do you curate that or influence that so that people can perceive your reputation that way, right?
Yeah, exactly, right? Absolutely. And like a good example I always give is of, the managing director of Microsoft. I mean, actually, I think she's still managing Microsoft, but she was Vanessa. I always use her as an example. She still is, I'm pretty sure. So Vanessa is the managing director of Microsoft for New Zealand, right? Huge role, massive thing. That person, as the MD of Microsoft New Zealand, is on LinkedIn. And there's a set of things that she does on LinkedIn, she's looking for and whatever. But Vanessa's also on Facebook, right? And she's on Facebook as different things, as a mother, as a sister, as a daughter, as whatever she is. And she's on Instagram as a friend and whatever. And so if you try to put a blanket approach across all of those things as a personal brand of who you are, it's not going to be effective. If you're talking to Vanessa on Facebook about something Microsoft, she's going to go, mate, what are you doing here? Like, this is my kids and my family and all this sort of stuff. And vice versa. If you're trying to sell her something for the home on LinkedIn, you're trying to talk to her about homeware or whatever on LinkedIn, that's probably also the wrong space for it. So by curating your brand to the right audience at the right time with intention to help you achieve a goal or aim is why it's so important to make sure you get that right.
I love that. I think that's a really good point there, Stanley, in terms of your reputation is not just this one thing, cookie cutter thing. It's different parts of you that you want to show on different platforms. What part of me in terms of my personal brand do I want to show here? And being mindful of the audience as well. Right?
Absolutely.
So you talked about Microsoft and you talk about Vanessa. Obviously, Microsoft is a huge brand on its own, right? Like global, well recognized. Then you've got this personal brand, this managing director or the leader. Why is it important to still have a personal brand, even though you've got this big, awesome, influential business brand? Like, we're thinking about business owners who be like, why do I need a personal brand? I will just leverage my own business brand. So why is it still important to have a personal brand, even though you have a business one?
Yeah, this is an awesome question. I love hearing this one. Is that it's a real misconception that we buy from brands. We actually buy from people in everything we do. When I first started this business, I thought it was a real B2B professional services thing that you did when you bought from people. But then I soon realized that it was even more effective in B2C. And there's a couple of real good examples. My first really good example I like to give is that I, as a 36-year-old male, go and spend way too much money on Nikes because they have Jordan written on them, right? And that's not because I want Nike. It's because I want to be like Mike. And Michael Jordan is a personal brand, right? He helped Nike build an empire and take over the whole basketball market and become the global domination it is today. And since that example was given to Nike, they've gone on to replicate it with Tiger Woods and everyone else, I should say. They almost own the whole athlete world, right? So that's the first example that we buy sport brands, shoes, clothes, whatever, because of a personal brand. But then let's take Apple as an example. Apple was Steve Jobs. We all knew it. He was the one who came back, the Messiah almost coming back to save this thing, right? And they did it like that, actually. Like, it's a real, like, you'll understand this when you think about it, Pasi, is that like Apple's branding when he came back and turned into Apple was like pseudo-religious, right? Or pseudo-nativity story. Like, it was like, I died by leaving the company, getting kicked out, and then they came back and resurrected him as CEO. They put him on a stage, all in white backgrounds, everything, or black. They're real bold, real separation of colors. He was like an evangelist church almost, talking to his people, right? And which was great marketing because we already knew that was like, people understood it. They got the feeling of it. And that brand of him being the father of this Apple brand was so strong that for decades, people bought Apple because of Steve Jobs, not because of Apple. And still to today, Apple's products aren't the best in the market. They're the best marketed, and they do it through their people. They've done it through Steve Jobs and now Cook and all these sorts of things. There's a real person behind the brand. And then my last example of why this is so important is Elon Musk. So Elon Musk, you love him or hate him, Tesla is worth what it is today, not because of Tesla, but because of Elon Musk. It's because of Elon Musk. That brand is worth more than all the other car companies in the world combined, I think, just about. Crazy, stupid number. But it's only that because they believe in Elon Musk, not because the car company's generating so much revenue that they think they're going to get good profits from it. They believe in where he's going to take it. And so when you look at it at that scale and you look at it at like small B2B businesses, there is nowhere in between that it isn't important that people would rather buy from a person before they'll buy from a brand. So if you don't have a personal brand, you're just leaving money on the table.
I love that. A key point there. People don't like to buy from businesses. They like to buy from people. I mean, they buy from people, right? And it puts the personal brand helps to put a human behind the business brand as well. And it makes it more relatable to people, right?
100%.
I can connect with the brand because of the person. And just like the examples that you gave there, for example. And when we talk about business brand, we're not just talking about a logo. We're talking about the mission. We're talking about the values. Those are things that people can relate to. But if you put a human in there, right, it makes it even more relatable, right?
100%.
I believe in that. I can relate to that, and then they start to associate those good values and the mission with the business brand too. So there's definitely ROI there. So that's awesome.
Absolutely.
So in terms of personal brand, where do people start? Right? We know it's a reputation in there. Like before I just go out and post something, before I just go out and put things out there, like, well, help those who are struggling, those who are struggling to define what their personal brand is. Where do they start?
Yeah, really, really good question. And whenever people come to us, let's say you're coming to work with us, it will be no different if I was going to tell you the same advice is, who are you trying to talk to and why, right? Why are you talking to them? And this question seems easy on the surface, right? People be like, let's say you're a service provider. Let's say you're an accountant. People are like, oh, any business with some money, I'll take them all. Like, I'll take any business. And it all takes all of 5 seconds to press on that to realize they don't want anyone with money. There's certain types of people that they like to work with, or the certain types of businesses they have more experience in, or industries. And so when I first start, I say, who do you want to work with and why? And I want you to answer that continuously for an hour. And people are like, what do you mean? It's like, I'm going to keep asking you why. Why them? Why this person? What about that? What about this? And you ask yourself that, because your first thing that comes to your head is, I'll take all the money. Give me all the money. Like, we're in business. I'll take all the money, right? And then when you really press that, you're like, nah, but I don't want to go with these sorts of people because XYZ, I find it difficult. Or I can't really work in that industry because I have no experience in that. And I'd rather people in this industry because I know this inside out. I know that really well because I used to work in corporate there for 10 years. Okay, well, now we're a little bit closer. And so as you narrow that field down and you get really clear on who it is that you want to go for and why, now you got to ask, where are they? Where are they as that person? And until you figure that out, there's no point doing anything else. Because if you just put up videos on Instagram, but you're looking for CEOs of enterprise businesses, I mean, they're on LinkedIn. They're not going to look at that on Instagram, right? And so you just don't know where they are. So who you're looking for and why, and then you find out where. And then obviously the next question that comes along is what? Like, what do I do? And for anyone starting out, don't even worry about content when you start out. If you're not great at content, if you're good at content, if you can make content you're pretty good at, just pump it out. But if you're not and you're still trying to learn, then what I always suggest people to do is to start to consume. Always consume first. So find these people, consume the content they're consuming, and then get involved. Get in the comments, comment on stuff, be part of the community that's involved with this content. That there is enough. If you do that for 20 minutes a day, every single day, really deliberate and with intention, you will figure out the how part, the how and the what. That'll come. So that's my advice. Who and why, and then where are they, and then go consume.
A very simple, systematic approach, practical approach, eh? And it's quite interesting in terms of, because you're coming from the angle of what do you want to be known for, depending on your goal, right? And in curating your personal brand based on that, rather than the reverse, where it's like, who am I? And then how do I sell me? How do I sell this to relate to people? But there's a reverse approach, or your approach, that's worked with many clients, obviously. Otherwise, you wouldn't have a business right now that's scaling. But that's very interesting. Very interesting. what's some advice that you can give around people who might struggle with that part around what do I want to be known for? There's that level of self-confidence and and being authentic and like, oh, it doesn't feel like me. It's getting out of their comfort zone and curating their personal brand based on their goals and who they want to reach. What's some advice around that?
Yeah, look, I love this. I love this idea, this conversation, because I get it a lot with people. I talk to a lot of people. Some people, really great businesses, they become clients, and then people who want something more, right? But they don't know. They're never in a position to be a client with me. So often I just have these conversations of like, where do you want to be, and blah blah blah. And it always comes back to one thing. It always comes back to it so much that actually next week I'm doing a brainstorming session with another agency to help me write a book on it. That's how much it comes up, right? So the idea is that if you have no real straight narrative of where you're going and clear direction, then instead of worrying about business, instead of worrying about growing something in goals and aims and that, just go build a audience. Just build any audience. It doesn't matter. So start with the audience. So first of all, just go, okay, why am I doing this? I'm doing that because I eventually want a new career. Okay, cool. What type of people would you might consider working for into the future? It doesn't have to be perfect, just like who would it be? Well, I probably need to talk to small business owners because I want to be in the startup world or something like that, right? And so what you do is you just go, how can I relate to these people? What is it about me that's similar to them? And I'll share some content about that, right? And I just put out lots and lots of content about it. And then eventually they will start to respond because they'll relate to it, and I'll get in the community and consume, and I'll understand what to do, and I'll keep putting out, and I'll build this audience. And then what happens, the thing that people don't realize is if you build an audience, the audience will tell you what to sell to them. It'll tell you what they want. And the reason why I want to write a book about it is not only because I tell a lot of people this, I've had a lot of clients who have helped with this and people I've mentored, but it's how I built this business. Like when I moved back to New Zealand, I had no idea what I was going to do. I used to run hotels for a living for 15 years. What I did know is I wanted to be a business owner. I just didn't have a huge capital to go invest and buy a business. I just didn't have it. I had enough money to keep me going for a couple of years in case I didn't know what I was going to do. But I didn't have enough. I couldn't go buy a hotel, which is what I was used to running. I mean, I don't have $50 million in the bank account. So instead, I said, I'm going to build an audience. I'm going to go on LinkedIn because I think I want to work with business owners. I'm going to go connect with a lot of them and start networking with them. I'm going to put posts up. I'm going to communicate and comment on their stuff. And I did that solid for 6 months to the point where I was having 5 coffees every day with random people from LinkedIn. I was going to networking events every night. And then lockdown happened. And so once lockdown happened, that same audience I'd met, the thousands of people I'd met and talked to, started coming back to me and saying, Stan, we want help with the things you're doing on LinkedIn. Can you help us with that? And at no point in time did I think I was going to start a marketing agency. It is not what I was thinking of doing. And I said, yeah, look, and it was COVID. So I was like, hey, I'll take any money I can get right now because I don't know what the world's going to look like tomorrow. So I took on some clients and we built a business and it snowballed into what it is today. And when I look back today, sitting here, we're like 21 staff there, 5 interns, this massive studio about to head to New York. Like it's been an epic ride in the last 3.5, 4 years. There is absolutely no way when I quit my job from hotels that we would be here today. There's just no way. In fact, I thought I was going to be like a solo consultant, just doing, maybe getting $250 an hour. I thought that'd be awesome. Maybe do 20 hours a week. I thought that'd be the life. And then I built this thing. And I'm so much happier that I built this. But the only way I could do it is I built the audience first. And the audience told me, Stan, this is the value we see in you. Can you give us that? And I said, okay, well, how much are you going to pay for it? And then they paid me, right? And because I could do something that that audience trusted me with because I built it over a 6-month period, I had no trouble converting clients into it because they all trusted me. They all said, yeah, I get it. I get what you're trying to do, Stan. So my advice for people who aren't sure, if you're desperate for money, different thing. If you're desperate for money and you don't know what to do next, go to Countdown. They're always looking for people to stack shelves. And I don't say that as a joke. I know if this company burns down tomorrow, that's what I'll do. I'll just go to Countdown. I got no fears about doing crap, low-level jobs just to get by. But if you're desperate for money, there's ways to do it. Just go out, work hard. But in between that, go out and put out content and build an audience. And that audience, trust me, if you're a good person and you're doing things and you're showing your value and you're being helpful to the community, they will come to you and tell you, this is the value you offer. I want to buy it from you.
I love that. I love that. I think it's important for people to understand that personal branding is more than just what you put out there about yourself and how you want to help people. It's also about connection. It's also about relationship. It's also about engaging with people as well in terms of the audience, thinking about them, how can you serve them? How can you engage with them? And on social media, it might be something as simple as commenting, engaging with their content, like showing that you care. Because what's that saying? People don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care. And I think I've
Yeah.
seen this on some of your posts on LinkedIn, is that your network is your net worth. Like what there's, your personal brands are not really going to serve you unless there's an audience to serve. So you
100%.
focus having a strategy and an intention around building an audience. So, we can talk all day about how we do that, but we only have a few minutes here with this master. But in terms of, obviously, yes, personal brand, people have different goals with what they want to do with their personal brand. But speaking from a business and entrepreneur point of view, in terms of using their personal brand for their business, ROI, what are ways that you can monetize or leverage your personal brand for your business and start generating some ROI for that?
Yeah, this question is something that I get asked a lot. Every single initial conversation I have, people say, okay, how do I monetize? How do we turn this attention into money? And often my answer doesn't make people happy because it's not clear, right? And I mean, I've probably told way too many stories, but I'm going to tell another one. There's this, I read this LinkedIn post the other day about Meadowly, right? The margarine brand. And it was the agency who created the campaign for originally, which was like about mothers. And it was, she ought to be congratulated was the rhyme that they had. And the ad was awarded all these awards, and they asked the people who did it, they're like, how did you come up with such insight and depth into, modern contemporary mothers and what they have to do as a working family and blah, blah, blah. And the agency said, we just needed a word that rhymed with polyunsaturated. And everyone was like, wait, what? And they're like, yeah, that's all it was. It's just a rhyme. We just needed a rhyme, and it worked. And so we went with it. Nothing. And we then rationalized all our strategy back to the strategy. And the reason I tell the story is that a lot of people don't like that. They want a clear, defined, linear process from one thing to the next thing to go, I'm paying you for the Stan. Tell me how my personal branding turns up and gives me money. And actually, like for us as a team, what we know is like, that's not how it works. Like a stroke of magic will happen one day and something will happen. And then we can go, oh, that means this and that means that. So let's go to work. And so when people go, how are you going to monetize this and do it? It's like, you've got to trust the process. You've got to understand that like, if you go in with the intent to say, I'm going to put this content out because it's going to give me this ROI, you will undoubtedly fail. You will never get what it is that you actually are going after. You might make some dollars, you might make some money, but you're not going to really hit the goals that you're trying to get. And it's because people can sniff that out from a mile away. We're so used to seeing these people trying to sell to us in content and trying to monetize stuff and trying to build businesses through, like it's thinly veiled, right? So because you can tell when someone is like secretly trying to get to a goal fast in terms of sales and revenue. We can all see through it now. But if you go out with the intent to go, no, I'm going to build a brand, I'm going to build an audience, and I'm going to let that audience tell me the value that I offer them, and then I'll charge them for that value, and you trust that works, your ROI expectations will always be exceeded. You'll never, like, if you go, I want to earn 200 grand in the next year in this business, I'll turn up $200,000 or an additional $200,000, let's say, and let's just say that was in the back of your mind. If you then put that to the side and go all in on brand and build, you will eclipse that by numbers that you couldn't even imagine. I think about me as an example. Like my goal in 2 years was to replace my salary as being a GM. By the time lockdown happened and I finally figured out the business and doing LinkedIn and personal branding, I had replaced my salary 6 months into the journey. And then I tripled it by the end of the year. And then by the end of the second year, I had generated 10 times my original salary in 2 years. Wow. There is no way that I thought that would have been possible at the start, just no way. And every client that we have who just trusts the process and goes, cool, Stan, I get it, we're going to go for it. They exceed all our expectations. I've got a client who is a stress coach and leadership coach. And he does one-on-one coaching for high executives, top executive CEOs and things. Before he started doing that, which was back in April, for the first 3 years of working with him, he was a part owner. Well, he still is an owner in a global education company, and they're great. They do amazing things. But he was probably bringing home about 200K a year as his portion of that thing, which is by no means a bad salary. If you're making that, you're still in, the very top few percent of the country. But he was like, I can do more than this. I can do better. And I've been in this business for 12 years. I'm not going to exit, but I'm going to stand aside in my position, let them go a different direction, and I'm going to go into one-on-one coaching. And because he had built a brand for 3 years prior, he went to his audience and he said, hey, this is what I'm doing now. And he was going, as long as I can get to 5 clients, that's 25K a month, I'm going to be doing better than I was, and I'm going to do less work. He's sitting at 12 clients now since April. So he's on 60K a month at the moment. Wow. And he's like, I don't even know how this is possible. And it's just because his audience said, hey, that's the value you offer us. I want it. And he's had to almost close his books because of it, because he's like, this is more than I could have ever asked. So it's an interesting question, which is, what's the ROI? The ROI is bigger than you'll ever imagine, but only if you trust it and you go all in. And I know that's a little wishy-washy. I know people are like, oh yeah, you're just saying that because you're biased. But trust me, I can give you examples day after day. But and I can also tell you that if you go in with intent to sell, you won't get anywhere near your target. I've seen it too often of people just falling over when they're being too intentful with the sale as opposed to the brand building.
I totally agree. I love that. And even from personal experience in terms of personal branding, it takes time to get it to that point where you start to see some good results. But what I've learned, especially using LinkedIn, is using your personal brand. And, consistency is key in providing good value and content for your audience. But eventually it opens doors that normally don't open for you. Like as education, we provide training to employers to upskill their staff, and imagine going knocking on every single door physically at every factory and all of that. Tell hey, we got this, but LinkedIn has been so much efficient, and it's gotten our personal brand, or my personal brand especially, has gotten to a point where people are knocking on our door. People are like, hey, I like your content. I love what I'm seeing. I believe in what you believe. I want to chat with you. So it takes time to get to that point, but don't expect an overnight result. It's one of those things. It eventually will get there, and it will be an asset for your business.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I love the way you guys leaned into it too. Obviously, I've been following your journeys just as much as vice versa. And you can see it with you guys. It's happened the same way it happened with us. Like, you've just done the thing that you had to do. You kept putting it out. You kept telling the world what your value is, where you can help people, what you can do. You were never salesy around what you did. You never went in going, by the way, we got a 3-for-1 deal this week, come in and do some coaching or something. You never did that. You just put out value. You talked about your journey, and look at where you guys are now. Like, I love your guys' story. You don't know this because we don't talk enough, but I always use you guys as an example of young Pacifica guys just killing it. Like, I'm just like, look at these guys. Like, this is what it is. Like, no tall poppy crap with you guys. You might feel it internally, I don't know, but like, you don't show it. You just go, this is us. We're here to help. This is our value. And look what it's done for you guys. I love watching your guys' journey.
Oh, appreciate that. Well, I'm glad that that's what you perceive, because that's our intention. And in terms of personal brand, it's just, we're just here to serve, here to help. And that's thank you so much. Well, hey, we've talked a lot about personal branding. It's so important, and I guess ways that you could kind of measure whether your personal branding is working or not working based on your goals, based on how the audience responds, based on opportunities or doors that open up for you. There's many ways, and then what you do with those opportunities is up to you, right? Obviously process. So personal branding or using social media for personal branding is just part of the process. So don't expect the shortcut straight to the bank. Be like, if I post this up, how much, let's go check my bank account. That's not how it works. So it's part of the process. So I guess as we draw closer to the end of the podcast, talk to us a little bit more around the social media platforms like LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook, etc. How do you determine which platform to use? I mean, like, you see someone like Gary Vee who's exploding on all platforms, TikTok, Instagram, everywhere, right? Is that the approach that everyone should be doing too? Or, you know, like, I guess, what's your advice around that?
Yeah, really good, really good. I mean, you know, you and I both, like, Gary Vee's the master of social media, right? He's nailed it. But one of the things I soon realized with Gary Vee is that he's done that over time. It hasn't been, you know, for something that happened real fast. I think VaynerMedia's been around now for 14 years or something like that. It's been a long journey. Like, and only about 4 years ago did he get to the explosive, like, nature of where he is now, where he's like international stardom, right? 4 years ago, you could walk in a room and people still didn't know who he was in a room of entrepreneurs. Now, you'd be lucky to go to a business networking and no one knows who he was. I mean, you'd be lucky if there was no one in the room who didn't know who he was. And so I tend to go to people that what he's doing on social media is the right thing, but you probably can't do it. And you probably can't do it because you don't have the time and resources. The last count that I saw, the Team Gary Vee, so his personal brand team, so the small team that's inside VaynerMedia that just looks after Gary Vee's brand, was 29 people. That's bigger than my entire team that serves all our clients. He's got it just for him. So that shows you the level of work that's required to have a brand like that. So what I tend to say is, it wouldn't go back to what I said, who and why, and then where. And that's the platforms. If we give it over, if we do some real practical takeaways here, LinkedIn's professional. It's people in their jobs, right? You want people who are thinking as the job that they have. That's when you go into LinkedIn. Instagram is often a lot more social. You tend to see a millennial Gen X audience on Instagram, and they're usually there more from a social perspective. Usually you'll see people, they'll have family, but they'll also have lots of friends who follow them on Instagram. So it's a much more social environment, and people are a little bit more open to share fun things that they're doing, right? And then on Facebook, the demographic shifts a lot older as a general rule. So you're getting more into the Gen X and boomer territory, and it's much more family orientated in general. It's much more family orientated. However, there's all the, you know, Facebook's a cesspit of hate as well. It's like there's lots of bad stuff that happens on Facebook too. And it's driven by a lot of these old people actually who get in there and love to be keyboard warriors. But if you remove all that, that's still a small percentage of Facebook. A lot of Facebook is families connecting and sharing photos and things. It's always been that, and I think it will always be that. Then you go to TikTok, and TikTok's obviously skews a lot younger. It's a lot more Gen Z, but it's also a massive, like, the millennial audience is, if not bigger already on it. It's huge now, the millennial audience. So Gen Z and millennial dominate TikTok, and it's entertainment. TikTok is more Netflix than it is Instagram. And this is where people kind of get confused with TikTok, is that they think, oh, it's another social media platform. It's another streaming service is what it is. It's, you know, it's HBO, it's Netflix, it's one of those. People go to be entertained on TikTok. The difference between Netflix and TikTok is that you can have two-way communication. That's what makes it social, is that you can comment and reply. It's actually more like YouTube. That's the real thing we should say, is that TikTok and YouTube are competitors, not TikTok and Instagram. They aren't competitors. Facebook's not a competitor. You wouldn't go to TikTok to organize a family birthday party, right? You do that on Facebook. You put your Facebook event on, and that's where you do that. You would not do that on TikTok. On TikTok, you're going for entertainment. You're going to be scrolling away and wasting some time and doing all the things that you do on TikTok, and having a laugh and having a cry and all the things that you do. And then YouTube's similar. The difference between TikTok and YouTube, the way I like to look at it is two things. First of all, TikTok, you choose to keep watching a video. So you get served videos, and your decision is, do I keep watching this video? On YouTube, the decision is, should I watch this video? Because you get shown a bunch of videos and you pick the one you want to watch. Now, obviously, YouTube's got YouTube Shorts now, so it does a similar thing. But even when you go into the app natively, you still have to choose to start watching Shorts most of the time. And so that's how I sort of determine that, which is a different bit of a psyche, and also the demographics are different. So on YouTube, it's a very broad range of people. You've got, you know, kids all the way through to boomers. It's much more spread. If you look at the demographics of YouTube, it's very spread. Everyone's on YouTube. Everyone's there. Everyone goes there for different reasons. And TikTok is obviously skews a lot younger. So that's how you differentiate which one you want to be on. And then there's, you know, all the other platforms probably a little bit irrelevant for this audience because, you know, we're using Pinterest in New Zealand. I don't know. But when I'm looking at which platform I should put a client on, I'm looking at that who. So I kind of just told you what the sort of main demographics on each channel are. Those demographics had different buying decisions. So professionals are buying different things than Instagram people, even if it's the same person. So if it's Vanessa, as we talked about, so Vanessa as Microsoft is buying, 6-7 figure things. And then Vanessa on Instagram is probably buying, $80 sheets or whatever it might be. And Facebook and so where are they and who is the person you're talking to? Not just Vanessa, but Vanessa the CEO or Vanessa the mother, right? And that's how we got to look at it. So that's how I tend to go. It's like, there's all the platforms, pick the one where they are now and go all in on that one platform. And Pussy, from watching my journey, I went all in on LinkedIn because that's what I knew. And it's only recently that I actually started to go all in on TikTok. We've only been doing it for a year and a bit now. I think it's like 14 months we've been going hard on TikTok. And I didn't go onto TikTok until I had the right team to be able to deliver it. We obviously had to hire Joni, who understood the platform. And then I had a video production team who could support Joni in making all those videos. Otherwise, I could never have done it on my own. And so my advice to people when you're trying to pick what should we do and where should we go, is just like go all on one, divert all your resources to one that your audience is at first. Try your best. If you want to, you can repurpose all that content across other platforms, and you'll see this on my Instagram and Facebook, which I don't really try on. They just repurpose my LinkedIn, my TikTok content all goes there just to have stuff there. But I don't really try, and therefore you can see in my viewership that I don't get a lot of interactions there compared to TikTok and LinkedIn. So I'll narrow in at the moment. So we feel that we're quite good at LinkedIn now. We're also quite good at TikTok now. Our next platform that we're investing money in is YouTube. And so we're trying to build that as a thing. We think it's a nice, easy transfer, but that's costing me money. Like, it's expensive. And so if you're starting out in business or you're new in business, or you've got, if you're sub $1 million in revenue, you shouldn't be trying to go real hard on 3 platforms. It's just too expensive. So YouTube's my next one. And as you can see, I'm not even really trying on Instagram and Facebook. I kind of feel that like those are the last ones that I'll go for. Not because of any reason, because I don't like the platform. I just think my audience is far less there than they are everywhere else, which is surprising, because TikTok, the reason I went on TikTok was for recruitment, not for business originally. It turned into business once we blew up. But my audience I was looking for was staff, because I need to recruit. So that's why that was the main one. And then for YouTube, the reason we're going YouTube is because YouTube has a monetization feature that rivals everyone, and we know how long it's going to take. And ideally, YouTube can pay for the whole internal team so we can hire more people to go after Instagram. So that's kind of our journey.
I love that. Thank you for laying that out beautifully for our audience in terms of the social media platforms, the different types, the different demographics or the different audiences within those platforms, but always starting with who first. Who are your audience that you're trying to reach out to help guide and determine what platforms you use? And I love your approach there, Stanley, around you started with one first and you went into the next platform slowly, rather than going the shotgun approach where you're just doing everything and anything, but you're not really reaching anybody, right? So yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Thank you.
I've got 2 more questions before we end this and wrap up this podcast. And thank you so much for just dropping free gems here that people normally pay for in consulting. I appreciate that. I guess my second to last question is, what are some small practical tips that people can start doing right now to help strengthen their personal brand?
Cool. For most of the people watching this, I think, and when you told me, Pussy, the sort of demographic who will watch this, so digital marketing is great. Putting content out is great. But I guarantee you, if everyone here watching found a small local business networking group and went to a weekly one. So I go to BNI, Business Networking International, but there's plenty of them out there. You just Google it, and that's BNI as the letters. If you just do that tomorrow, trust me, you'll get business coming straight away, but you'll also build your personal brand, because you're going to meet real people and have conversations with them, and they know other people. And then what you do is, because you'll connect with them on LinkedIn, let's say, right? And then because you're going to start posting on LinkedIn, or you're going to do little things or comment or whatever you're going to do, you're going to do activity on LinkedIn. They're going to see you every day for the 7 days in between the next meeting. And then they're going to go, man, that was really cool. I've been watching your stuff, and that'll slowly build, and you'll build relationships faster with these people than everyone else because they'll see you all the time. So honestly, I know I'm a content guy. I know I put out content. I know it's more efficient to do LinkedIn. It's more efficient for TikTok, and you can grow really big audiences. But if you're smaller and you're just trying to go, I don't need $1 million in revenue. I just need another 60K in revenue. That's all I need. You'll find that from these small networking groups. And what that does is it gives you the confidence and the support to go, you know what, I'm going to double down on the other things that help me grow because I've started to get the revenue coming in that I can now build in other things, right? Because everything's a balance of like time and money, everything. How much time can I put into something and how much money? So your time's just as valuable as money. So you need to think, where's my time best spent? And if you're quite small and you're trying to just get the next 50K or the next 60K for the year or whatever, networking, funnily enough, is like in old school in-person networking is so valuable. Like, Pasi, Nesia Network. Nesia Network for me was huge. I reckon I didn't sell once in Nesia Network. And Nesia Network was all about like bringing people together. And it cost me lots of money to run those events. I just put them all on. But just because I was at the face of that, the amount of clients I think it was about over the course of the years, and I don't want to just talk money, but like it's good for people to hear this, is that because I ran a network for 3 years or so I did it for, I probably produced directly from that about $500,000 in revenue, which blew my mind because it wasn't why I did it. It just happened because I became an authority, but I also got to meet people. It's how we met, Pasi. It's how we became. We ended up doing some work for you and things like that. And so if you're going to do some practical takes to build your personal brand, go do some networking. That's my first thing. If you do that and you're quite small and you just need that extra, just that extra little bit that you're not stressing about money every day, networking, first of all, small business networks. And then the second practical thing is I talk about to people is what's a thing you do in the morning, every single morning, that you can tie another habit to, right? Habit stacking, right? And so for me, it's doing my morning number 2, right? So I'll be in the toilet and as I'm in the morning, 10 minutes, I'll comment on people's LinkedIn posts. And that's what I'll do. I'll just comment as many as I can while I'm sitting in the toilet. We're all playing on our phones in the toilet anyway. I just do it with a bit of intention and I'm doing some stuff. It could be a morning coffee. It could be a morning walk. It could be whatever. Find a morning habit and comment on the platform where your people are that you're looking for and just habit stack that, because it's less about doing volume and more about being consistent when it comes to this sort of stuff. You got to show up every day. So if you can find that morning routine piece that you have to do the commentary, which also means you're consuming because you have to read or watch content to be able to comment. If you honestly, if anyone watching this just does that as their first step to building a personal brand, I guarantee you in 3 to 6 months, your whole world would have changed in terms of social content. You would have looked at things completely different. You'll see different stuff. You'll be able to do different things. You won't need the next steps. And this is where everyone comes in like, yeah, but what do I do after that? It's like, don't worry about after this. Trust the process. Just do that for 10 minutes a day for 6 months. And you won't have to ask me what's next because your audience will tell you what's next and you'll find the things and you'll learn and you'll grow and you'll do more. But just start with the comments, start networking, and trust me, like between those two things, whatever that little small incremental goal that you need just for this year to take your business to the next level, you will achieve it if you do those things consistently. If you half-ass them, you'll never get it.
I love that point there, Stan, around your personal brand is not just this online reputation. It's also, I guess, the physical reputation as well in person, showing up to those networking events that you talked about, engaging there, networking with people physically, and then also networking with people online, whether that's commenting on their content. You're basically just engaging with the audience, right? And that's all part of personal brand. It's not just this one thing, simple thing. It's more complex than that. So I love that. It's what you do on the field and online, I guess, offline and online that helps build your personal brand. So I love that. And I also love the part around making the most of your time, tying it to another habit in terms of whether you're sitting on the toilet. Let's not kid ourselves here. I'm sure most of us are on our phones instead of playing on that game, scrolling through Facebook. Can you use it intentionally to comment on other people's posts? So it's just making most of that time as well, because, we all struggle with time. I don't have time to post. I don't have time to comment. Tie it to some sort of habit and maximize on that time. right?
100%.
I love it, love it. So, hey, thank you again so much for just sharing so much wisdom, and your time will better for it around personal branding. If people want to get a hold of your expertise, Stanley, or just subscribe to Attention Seeker and your guys' marketing services, how can they do that?
Look, the best way, honestly, if you just Google our name these days, you can't get away from us. But the best way to get in hold of touch with me is LinkedIn still. So today, message me on LinkedIn, connect with me, follow me along. I'll reply. I reply to every single person who messages me on LinkedIn. I might not reply in the same day, but I will definitely reply to you. So, and like I get hundreds of messages each day, so I do try to get through them, and it's me who replies every time, not my team or anything, because I really do value the conversations I have in those. So please message me on LinkedIn and you'll definitely get in touch.
I love it. Thank you so much again, Stanley Henry, Managing Director at the Attention Seeker, Aotearoa's leading specialist in personal branding, LinkedIn, TikTok, and soon to be YouTube marketing. Let's go. All right. Thank you for your time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, mate. Awesome to be on here.